From a ground staff to a cabin crew. Is that possible?
My name is Julia George. I used to fly for Qatar Airways for 10 years, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you my knowledge and my experience on how I think that from a ground staff you can become a cabin crew, and definitely these tips and tricks based on my knowledge and my experience, you can use them even if you want to become a ground staff from a cabin crew work position. So here we go.
I have been working as a ground staff for 2 months in a form of a supervisor at the airport, and this is what I have learned. My work experience as a ground staff was in between my flying career, and it was at Hamad International Airport in Doha, Qatar, as I was flying for Qatar Airways. And I was observing the work at the check-in counters, at the lounges, at the gates at Hamad International Airport, etc., etc. Now here comes the question. Is it working as a ground staff and a cabin crew the same thing? Well, at the beginning, I would be honest and I would tell you that that's not true. There are similarities, but I would like to say that they are kind of married to each other. Both departments belong to the crew resource management concept that every airline has, and this means only one thing. They work hand in hand together. Further, I will be able to show you in a form of information more things related to this. But the important fact to know is that both work positions have similarities, and yet at the end of the day the both are very, very different. Now, at the beginning, let's define what is the difference between a cabin crew on board the aircraft and a ground staff. Well, the ground staff and the cabin crew can be very different by their work environment, definitely. The ground staff are working on the ground for an airline at a particular airport, in which ticketing is one of the basic functions of the ground staff team member, or the so-called checking in, but definitely there are loads of other duties and responsibilities at the airport. And the cabin crew are working in the aircraft. They're working thousands of miles above the ground, where they assure that all the health and safety measurements of the passengers are at its place. Moreover, they also serve meals and drinks to the passengers throughout their journey or throughout their flying experience. Now, cabin crew are the people that fly on the airplanes along with the passengers, and the ground staff are the people that are getting the passengers on the plane to be ready for the flights, like tickets and sales, like airplane flares, like baggage handlers. As I have mentioned earlier, there are loads of other job descriptions of a ground staff at the airport. So definitely, as you can see by this small little definition, or this small little view by myself on the ground staff and on the cabin crew position, we can see that there are quite a lot of differences between the two job descriptions. Now, what I also have to say is that there are also lots of difference between the ground staff requirements and the cabin crew requirements, but not too many. Let's say the ground staff requirements can be understood as a bit more flexible, but if you're asking me, what I can tell you is that I believe that the requirements for ground staff and the cabin crew are same. Both work positions have their unique qualities that are required, and both jobs are not easy to perform, and I have been in both. The ground staff job is indeed very, very demanding job. There are always way of getting where you want to be, irrespective if it's from a ground staff to a cabin crew, or from a cabin crew to a ground staff. And this statement works for both of the jobs too. Now, there are many candidates that have tried to become cabin crew, but somehow they have joined first as a ground staff due to various reasons. And if the reasons are hindrance to let you to become a cabin crew, for example, it's your height, your skin condition that can't be resolved, your eyesight, etc., etc., then perhaps for you as a ground staff will not be possible to fly and to change from a ground staff to a cabin crew. But if you are meeting all the requirements and there is an internal job opening, then surely you can apply, because even if you're working as a ground staff, definitely there are job vacancies and there are rules until from what time you can apply to become a cabin crew, after how much time you can apply to become a cabin crew. As an airline employee, you are a loyalist and you want to stay with the same airline, and this becomes an added advantage if you want to become a cabin crew from a ground staff work position. And I have mentioned earlier that there are also people that from the cabin crew work position became ground staff for various reasons. So in this video you can use my advices for the both circumstances. If you're a cabin crew and you want to become a ground staff, and you're a ground staff and you want to become a cabin crew.
Now, what I also would like to say that you can even apply for other airlines cabin crew job openings. Let's say while you were a ground staff for an airline, you observed that an airline that you really liked has opened a vacancy and you would like to apply to become a cabin crew for a different airline. You can definitely do that because the ground staff experience is something that the recruitment team is definitely looking as an advantage, as a good experience. So do not limit yourself that you must be a cabin crew for the airline that you're working as a ground staff. But let's go back to the aspect of how you can become a cabin crew if you are a ground staff, let's say in Qatar Airways. I'm gonna stick to Qatar Airways, but as I have said, please use the other my tips for the other airlines as well. So on the website of Qatar Airways, there is an important sentence that is giving you the answer to your question. And saying all of these things, I would like to highlight that it is important for you to know by heart all that the website that the airline you are working for as a ground staff has, things that are written, the updates that the website it has on daily basis. Please make it a habit. If you are a ground staff, you are going through the website of the airline you are working for at the airport on daily basis. So going back now to Qatar Airways, what are they saying? They're saying that they dare to deliver an experience to their customers like no other. They also say that they have grown very fast, they have overcome challenges, and also they have set trends that others are following. And they're saying that their story is not ending up there. Their future is actually written by their people. And over here, their people are actually you, all the employees of the group, of the corporation called Qatar Airways. They're also asking you in that sentence to bring your ideas, to bring your passion to a place where you can make a real impact on on one of the world's fastest growing airline, actually. And the sentence is right here on the website of Qatar Airways. What I have told you is actually taken from that sentence and I have transferred over here. So what they're both basically saying is that together, you and the company you're working for, let's say in this case that's Qatar Airways, but it can be Emirates Airlines, Etihad Airways, together everything is possible. Now, this is the answer to your question, and here are all the points on how you can actually become a cabin crew from a ground staff.
I am going to be giving you 3 very important tips that you can use them to become a cabin crew from a ground staff, so just please pay attention. The number 1 thing is, please always strive to deliver customer service experience like no other. As you are working in the customer service industry as a ground staff, right? Please take every customer's checking in as a challenge that you will be always determined to go beyond their expectations, irrespective of the customer service you're offering. You're not necessarily at the check-in counter while you're working as a ground staff, but please listen to their needs. Look up for solution, and you won't have the solution every time, of course, but what you will have is something to show that you are trying and that you are there for the customers. Now, I am very sure that as a ground staff, you already have a list of common requests at the check-in counter. Perhaps I'm using the check-in counter as it's the most common ground staff work position. And please try to make customers' needs, customers' queries much better assisted and much better answered. And most important, please pay attention to this, what I'm going to tell you further on, as it is really, really important. Never tell a passenger that you are assisting. The cabin crew will take care of your query once you reach on board the aircraft, because unless you have communicated the query with the cabin crew and you have passed a message and you have informed the cabin crew on board the aircraft that this passenger at the check-in counter, let's say, has a particular need, because promising something that we as a cabin crew, I'm saying on board the aircraft, were not aware of, is reflecting a huge level of professionalism. And if that passenger later on complains and passenger passengers do complain, that is not going to go into your favor, and you won't be able to become a cabin crew, migrating from the ground staff work position to a cabin crew, because at the particular moment dealing with a customer query, you just wanted to get rid of the customer, and just wanted to tell, like, the cabin crew will take care of that on board the aircraft. Do not do that, please, unless you have communicated, and always look for a solution that are within the frame of possibilities that you have. I also would like to say is that with this kind of work, you will be overcoming so many challenges, and at the same time, working like this, you are going to set up trends for your other colleagues that are ground staff as you, and they will be following those trends, or they will be inspired to follow those trends, as for sure your supervisors will be talking good about you. Now, you are a start of a story for every passenger, and make that story and that start for that passenger a great one. The second and very important tip on how to become a cabin crew from a ground staff is, please bring all your ideas and passion into the work that you are doing. And why I'm saying this? Now, it is very important that you don't just do the checking in, you're not just doing the customer service related work, but you're also involved in that. You're also participating. And by saying participating, I mean taking charges and looking for ways how your service or the service experience that you are doing can be upgraded. If you just put yourself in passengers' shoes, and that is something that I really recommend even to the cabin crew, and think for a moment as a passenger who's using the services that you're doing, you might be able to give so many new ideas, let's say to your supervisor or to your co-workers. But one tip I will tell you is, please send your recommendations over here via email, and in a form that displays care for the customer's service experience, and that the airport and your desire to always enhance the work is there. Now, the management will definitely see a huge potential for a career growth in you. And also, one thing you should bear in mind is to always recommend reasonable ideas that are not so costly, and that it comes, because if they're not so costly, it will be difficult for the management to implement them. Another tip, again from my knowledge and my experience I can give you, is when you are recommending procedures to the airport, the airline you are working for, you should bear in mind three very important aspects. One is it beneficial for the company that I'm working for? That means it's not too costly and it's not too pricey. The second one is it beneficial for the customer, for the other customers? In the third and very important thing over here, is it affecting the safety? When you definitely have a go thing to present this, and presenting this in a form of guidelines based on these three elements will definitely be something that will make you a halfway already to become a cabin crew. All I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, and why I have mentioned over here that you should write it in a form of email, is that this is something official, and this is something that can be documented and can state, even not necessarily your recommendation is going to be accepted, but yet your desire, your thinking out of the box, you have actually sat down, analyze, your three yeses are there of the things that I have mentioned earlier, will definitely present you to the management as a serious candidate who should migrate from the job position of a ground staff to a cabin crew. The third and the last thing I'm going to say over here is that you can do the cabin crew thing, and you can become a cabin crew from a ground staff work position, because that is possible. I also have to mention to you that being ahead of time for your duties is something that is a very much a plus point. But please don't think that you can come 4 or 5 times in your career as a ground staff ahead of time at your duties, and that's it. You should be expecting to become a cabin crew after that. Your constant dedication is something, as the word it says, it should be constant, and it will be sooner or later noticed, but you have to be doing that constantly, or so-called all the time. You just have to be dedicated, and you just have to be committed to your performance as a ground staff member, to your duties as a ground staff member, permanently. And over here comes the very famous phrase, reporting sick. It's also something that I must mention. Please try to take care of your health and try to prevent all those reporting sick days. But by all means, if you're not feeling well, please do report sick, as this is something important to you as for your future performance, even as a ground staff and even as a cabin crew. But do seek a medical assistance and do your also medical checkups regularly. For more details about this, please have a look on my video related to Qatar Airways Cabin Crew Career Growth. It's right here, and I've put in the description of this video a link from that video, because all those tips and tricks that I have given in this video, they are equally important to you as a ground staff if you would like to become a cabin crew from the ground staff work position and to change the department. As I have mentioned, the link is in the description of this video. The tips over there are very general, but they are very, very, very important to you. Now let's summarize. Follow your guidelines on your eligibility when you can apply to become a cabin crew for the airline that you're wishing for from a ground staff work position. And please always bear in mind that if the cabin crew process outside the ground staff as a work position is something that is very selective, it is very hard to become a cabin crew. That is also equally important as if you are migrating from the work position of a ground staff to a cabin crew. I'm not saying it's impossible. It is possible, but definitely over here you should be looking for ways on how you should do that, and the ways how you should do that are actually what I have mentioned earlier. And those three things that I talked about, they're actually over here in this sentence in the website of Qatar Airways. Please also, as I have mentioned in this video, use my tips and tricks over here, my knowledge, my experience, you name it, the way you want it, for every airport and every airline you're working for as a ground staff if you want to become a cabin crew. Last but not the least, it's very important that you click subscribe on my YouTube channel over here. Click the notification button because many videos are coming. I'm gonna be seeing you very soon. Until then, bye bye and have a nice day.